Welcome back to another video, everyone. In today's video, we're going to be doing a review of my Polaris Ranger 1000 XP after having owned it for 2 years. I did a review of this machine when I first bought it. I was really excited to get it. I'd had a Ranger before, but now after having this thing for 2 years, I want to do another review and let you know if I would buy it again or if I would switch brands. You can see right now she's really dirty. She gets a lot of use. We use it out at the deer camp, hauling feed, hauling people to stands, doing a lot of hunting, a lot of work. So I've got a lot of time and experience with this machine, and I want to tell you all about it. What I'm going to do first is get her cleaned up. I want you to see what it looks like once we give her a bath. Then we're going to drive her around, and I'll tell you what my experience has been with the Ranger after 2 years. Hang tight. Ooh, Ranger's looking good now. Got her all cleaned up and shining. Look at that beauty. She's ready to get dirty again. You know, I'd say that's maybe my first point of the review. You saw how dirty it was just a minute ago. And look how clean it looks now. My point here is that, like, the colors and the stickers and the camo, the paint, you know, it doesn't really fade. It's really, really in good shape. I mean, if you give it a good cleaning, and this is just being pressure washed. It's not like I put any soap or anything on it. I could scrub it and get it even better looking. Maybe put some treatment on the vinyl, but it's in such good shape. I mean, we use the crap out of this thing. All we do is drive it around in the woods, going through trees. It's getting hit by branches, rocks. I mean, you name it, it's getting beat up, it's getting used. We use it what it's meant to be used for, and cosmetically it has really stood up to the abuse that it's got. So what we'll do now, we're going to crank her up. I've got some projects to do out on the property, so we'll drive around and talk more about the Ranger. We're cruising now, just going to get her dirty again. That's okay though, that's what they're made for. Now that we're cruising, the second thing I'll make mention of after 2 years of ownership is the ride quality. In another video, I showed you how to adjust the ride height of the Polaris Ranger. You gain about 1 inch or so of clearance by putting the shocks on the stiffest setting. And I've been riding around with the Ranger on that setting ever since. And what's funny is people will come ride with me. Maybe they come out to hunt one weekend, come fish during the summer, whatever it is. And they'll make comments about how smooth and Cadillac-like riding in the Polaris Ranger is. And I always think that's interesting because I know it's on the stiffest setting and I know it could actually be softer. But the ride quality really is good. It feels safe and secure. It's not too spongy. The machine doesn't tip side to side. I never feel unsafe. And we ride in some pretty gnarly roads. Like, you can see that it's bouncing around a little bit. I just went through a little bit of a washout bar ditch, and it's really no issue at all. It doesn't give me back pains or anything like that. It's a really good ride quality, and it's maintained itself. I guess that's an important part, is that the shocks and the springs haven't worn out. My estimation is they have plenty of life left, and it still honestly rides the same way that it did when I first got it. Another important component of the suspension is how well do each of the tires flex. You know, it has independent suspension, and it is an off-road machine. So how well does it do flexing, like in a rock crawling or really rough terrain sort of setting? So I'll try to find a big rock or some sort of steep embankment, and we'll put one of the tires up on the embankment and see how this thing flexes. It didn't take long to find an embankment to flex on. Take a look at this. So that's a really steep grade. It's almost straight up. The Ranger climbed it with no problem. So I've got the front left tire up there. And if I come back, this rear left tire is up off the ground. The passenger tire rear is on the ground. And the front passenger tire is on the ground. But it climbed up there with no issues. Looks pretty cool sitting up there like a Jeep flexing. It climbed up there with no issues. I didn't feel unsafe or anything at any time. It doesn't feel like it's going to tip over. You can see that that's probably about the max, maybe 20 inches of a rock or something to put one tire up on for the rear tire to not come off the ground. But the fact that we still have 3 tires on the ground is plenty good for traction. I easily could drive up, turn left, drive up, over and on out in this spot right here without any issues at all. Suspension on the Polaris Ranger is very solid, very sturdy, and does its job. We'll go from the suspension now to the drivetrain. I mostly drive in two-wheel drive. I mean, that's all you really need driving on dirt roads. Every once in a while, I'll put it in four-wheel drive. If we've got a deep, muddy ditch to go through, deep mud hole, or it's really slippery in general, we'll put it in four-wheel drive. And so far, I've had, in 2 years, 0 issues with the drivetrain. No axles that broke, no drive shafts that broke. I haven't had to replace any U-joints on the drive shafts or the prop shaft that goes from the differential to the front. It's really dry out here right now, so I don't have any mud that I can go through. The only water is that little spring-fed creek I just drove through. But, in my opinion, how does the Polaris Ranger do in mud? Well, it does great. I've got a short posted. By the way, I know I keep referencing all the videos that I have. You should go watch them if you want to see other little specific aspects of the Polaris in action. I've also got some good videos on accessories for the Ranger. But as far as mud goes, I've got a short video of going through a water hole, a mud hole, where the water literally comes over the dash into the cab and the Ranger just goes right through it. We went out to a mud park when we were riding that day, and I'm pulling out these big lifted, macho looking four-wheelers and ATVs. You know, I think part of it is they didn't know how to drive, and part of it is those machines don't do that great, especially if the water's too deep. But the air filter is high enough in this machine. It's under the front hood, so it's about dash high, and if you're not in just sitting water that is that high, then this thing will go through some pretty deep stuff, 2.5, 3 feet pretty safely. And when there's mud, as long as there's some sort of bottom on it, and you've got this thing in four-wheel drive, you're gonna do pretty good. The Ranger has got a great four-wheel drive system and will get you through just about everything. That brings me to my next point, which is the clutch in the Ranger. I'm gonna stop real quick because I wanna kind of demonstrate something. So right now I'm in high gear, and I ride around in high gear most of the time. You know, I'm going 15 to 20 miles an hour kind of most of the time cruising around. But you don't want to put it in high gear all the time. If you ride around slow, like less than 10 miles an hour, you want to put it in low gear, not leave it in high gear. So I've got it in high gear, and I'm going to start off, and I want you to listen as best you can, okay? Listen to this. Did you hear that? Let me do it again. Okay, dead stop. Here we go. My point that I'm trying to make is you don't really hear anything. It sounds very normal. You don't hear anything because the clutch is still in great shape. Now, I've been conscious to not baby it, but to, when I'm driving in high, make sure I'm going above 10 miles an hour, and if I'm going slow or I'm hauling something, I put it in low gear. And I'll put literally 1,000 pounds of feed in the back of this thing and have 4 people and drive around in low for miles as we go fill up wildlife feeders and not have any issues. Not while driving, not while riding, nor after. You know, here I am 2 years into ownership, same clutch. You can even hear the clutch engage. That's the only sound you might hear is that click of the clutch engaging when I first start off. I'll start in low just to give a little comparison. You might hear how much quicker it sort of planes out, if you will. So here we go. Here's low. Right up to RPM, and we're cruising. It's 12 miles an hour and low. We're probably at 4,000 RPMs or something. I'm gonna go back to high. My old Ranger, after some time, the belt and the clutch wore down, and whenever you'd start off, especially in high, it would like it would sputter as it was trying to catch, as the belt was trying to catch. It was slipping really bad, so all that had to be replaced. We had the same issue in the Can-Am. You can go watch the video where I compare the Polaris Ranger to the Can-Am Defender, and we ended up replacing the clutch in the Can-Am, and then we actually got a new one. Should have got another Ranger, by the way. Whatever, the Can-Am's pretty cool. The next thing we'll review here is the power and the speed of the Polaris Ranger 1000. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to actually show you one of the features of Rangers that even I didn't know how it worked or what it did for the longest time. So I'll use this opportunity to show you what I'm talking about. What I'm referring to is this button here. It says Work, Standard, and Performance. Well, what does that mean? What this is throttle response. It doesn't add more horsepower or anything like that. It merely changes the throttle response. You can see right now I've got it in standard. You can easily put it in work. You can put it in performance mode, and it changes the throttle response. So what I'm going to do is my best to give you a real life demonstration of the different modes, okay? Let's start in work mode. Now I'm going to go from a dead stop. I'm going to kind of roll into the gas, and then I'm going to pedal the gas, and we'll see what kind of response we get in the work mode. All right, so listen up. Okay, it takes off what seems to be kind of normal. Now I'm gonna almost floor it. And I'm gonna kind of throttle the gas. Now if you could see my foot, I'll show you my foot in fact. Hopefully you could tell there that there is a bit of a delay in the throttle response from when my foot goes down to the power coming in. And I'm exaggerating it by giving it a lot of throttle, but you can still tell. So I'm going to go to standard mode. We're going to do the same thing. Alright, we're cruising. Takes off about the same, it feels like. I'm going to give it some throttle. Definitely a more immediate throttle response with the standard mode. Okay, let's stop and let's go to performance mode. Performance mode engaged. And go. Now that was a lot more power. I'm still just kind of throttling it, and man, that is a big difference. Yeah, in performance mode, it is wild. Like as soon as you hit the throttle, it is just all power. It's like going from one mode to the next doesn't seem like much, but once you get to performance mode, it's a whole nother ball game. I mean, what? Watch this. Watch the acceleration here. That was just at 25 miles an hour, and I'm spinning the tires the whole time, and I wasn't even giving it full throttle. That's amazing how different this performance mode is. But here's the reality. It's not that usable to drive around in all the time. I just went back to standard mode, by the way. Performance mode is not that usable because like turning around and trying to kind of be nimble through little nooks and crannies, you're just going all the time because the throttle is so sensitive. So I leave it in standard. Sometimes I even put it in work mode. Gives a little bit of forgiveness in the throttle response, and that makes driving a little more comfortable. So far so good on the Ranger, but not everything about it is perfect or ideal. Like here's one thing for you. It may seem simple, but the cup holders, while decent in the center console, lower and upper, these side cup holders are almost useless. They've got this overhang right above the cup holder, and the angle being so straight up, you can't really get anything into it. It's like, I don't even know what kind of cup they're expecting to put there. Here is a normal, Yeti Arctic kind of cup. I guess this is the 20 ounce, not even the big one, which I like to use the big one. And watch how this goes into this cup holder. Not very well. I mean, it's only going down, an inch or so. And look how it's tilted, button up against the dash there. I just think that's goofy. So I never use it. I don't even know what kind of cup you could put there. The back's got 2 cup holders, center console style. On the old Rangers, they had one down by your feet. That was useless. So cup holders could be an improvement still again on this particular Ranger. Also in the rear, I think it should come standard with cup holders that are up here on this grab bar. That would be really, really convenient. Something else I don't love about the Ranger is the accessories themselves. So I've got this front windshield, for instance. Go ahead and open it up. Let's see if I can do it while it's sitting here. Yeah, you hear that rattle? That noise is in the hinges. It is so annoying driving down the road and having the windshield up and having the hinges just rattling like crazy and making all this commotion. You might say, well, you shouldn't ride with it open. Well, let me remind you that I live in Texas, and when it gets to be 100 degrees in the summer, we're riding with the windshield open. Why have it even be an option if you need to ride around with it closed anyway? I think they should make a better hinge design. This is an actual Polaris windshield, and they should make a better design that has a better hinge. The hinges have some sort of floatability so that you can install the thing, but re-engineer it and come up with something better so that you have a more sturdy windshield mount and you don't get any of that rattle. Here's the other thing I don't like about the windshield. It's a 3-position windshield. So you've got this position, the open position we just saw, and then there's another, I'll show you. There's another little arm right there. You can kind of see it going down. That is fully closed. And so what that's supposed to do is leave a gap so that you get a little bit of a draft. However, the gap is so not worth a darn that the draft of air still comes up and goes up the windshield. It doesn't actually come in. If this piece was about 2 or 3 inches longer and you could get the windshield riding like that, then it would let some draft come into the cab and it actually keep you cool. And if that was the case, then I probably wouldn't ride around with the windshield up so much, which might save the hinges on the darn windshield. I do like the glass windshield, but just those things on the design are not very good. The Can-Am windshield that is, let's say, comparable that we have on our Can-Am Defender, way better. It's a way better latch, way better hinges. It doesn't make all that noise. Come on, Polaris, you can do better than that. Here's another thing that is not so great about the Ranger, and that is the general space in the cab, both front and rear. There's something about it that just feels a little tighter and a little smaller than the Can-Am. You know, even the feet wells and just the general dash layout make the Ranger feel a little bit more compact. Now, it's not that bad. And it's not bad enough that it makes me want to get rid of the Ranger. This is my second one, and I'll tell you right now, I would buy another one. But it is one of the lesser desired features of the Ranger. I don't know if they can change it. I don't know if it's perception. I'm not measuring anything. Just what I see and what I feel getting in and out of both the Ranger we have and the Can-Am we have. Not just in the front, but even in the rear. The other thing the Can-Am has in the rear is the rear passengers sit up a little bit higher, and so it makes them a little bit more involved and part of the conversation and easier to see out of the front than the Ranger has, especially if you have the kids in the back, which is a good place to have the kids if you're riding around with the family buckled up in the back. But all in all, I absolutely love this machine. The Polaris Ranger 1000 XP Crew is a great unit. Like I said, this is my second one. This one is performing way better than my first one. I had the 900, a 2015 model, and I'm absolutely loving it. I hope this review has given you some insight or some reassurance about investing in one of these machines. Like I said, leave a comment on what you want me to review specifically. I can make a video about it, show it in the video. In this video, we did a lot of talking, but I can do more performance demonstrations if you'd like. But you got to let me know what you want to see. So leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.